Hi, I'm here today to share with you about my personal story with mental health and spiritual health. I was raised in the San Fernando Valley in the 70s and 80s, and my mom went to church. She loved Jesus, and she met a man at church who was not a believer. He was going to church at the time, but he was not a believer, and she didn't know that at the time. They had me. And by the time I was 7 years old, I realized that my dad had a drinking problem. And that would grow to be something that would become more and more difficult the older I got. The more I realized, the more he was involved with drugs, with women, with gambling. And it caused a lot of hurt and pain in my childhood. My dad was not nice to my mother and myself. And I would grow up later finding out from him that he never wanted me, and just caused a lot of difficulties and stress in my childhood. My mom was consistent in loving God and going to church, and my grandmother, her mother, was a big part of my life. Grandma was old school, a lot of rules, a lot of legalism, but I can tell you now that Grandma was right about a whole lot of stuff. By the time I was 13, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. It was terminal. She passed away when I was 16, and just a whole lot of stuff going on. In my middle school years, I had this bad outbreak of psoriasis. I had weight issues as a kid. Just a whole lot of hurts and insecurities, growing up. I had a great group of friends. At the time, that was kind of my outlet, was just getting out of the house and doing kind of whatever I wanted. But by the time I was 18, I decided I didn't like the rules. I had gone to live with some family members when my mom passed away, and I didn't like the rules anymore, and I was going to do things my way. I thought that I was fine with God and Jesus. I believed in them here. So it was on my terms that I believed in God and Jesus. And, I just went and lived with my friends. And by the time I was 23, though, things started to unravel. And I had a lot of problems I had an eating disorder. I wanted to control, the number on the scale and my size and everything like that. I worked, that was my focus. I was my focus, and I had a lot of problems with depression and anxiety. And all of my friends in the world did not understand, what is wrong with you? I had everything by the world standards you could possibly want. I had a sports car, a great job, my own apartment in Sherman Oaks, a closet full of clothes, boyfriend, everything that the world, you would think that I would be totally happy and content, but I wasn't. And I know that my grandma was praying for me. My grandma and another family member never gave up praying for me, and that God would reach me. And I started having these big swings of anxiety and depression. It was awful, awful, awful. I mean, I would just spend the whole day locked in my house. And someone suggested that I go see a psychologist. And so here I'm at a psychologist after already not being very successful at a 12-step program, which I was still trying. I still was trying the 12-step program for people with eating disorders. Basically, it was Alcoholics Anonymous for people with eating disorders. And so here I'm now at a psychologist, and I've seen the psychologist a few times, and she wants to put me on Xanax. It was new on the market. But she decided that was the only way she was gonna be able to get me to calm down and be able to reach through to me and break through. Well, I mentioned it to this family member who had been praying for me, and she said to me, Colleen, I really wish you would reconsider that. Take some time and really think about it, because there's not enough known about it. And basically, she was just trying to be nice and help me not take the medication. And she also shared with me about an article she had just read in Christianity Today. It was an interview with Bill W. And he shared that the reason for his success with the program and in his writing the program to help other people was solely on the basis of his relationship with Jesus Christ. That Jesus Christ was the key. And without him, at some point, you're going to fail in the program. That life, we're created for him, and it's about him, and it's through him that we're able to be victors in our struggles and our difficulties in life, and to overcome these things. So that was just a launching pad for me. I started going back to church, and just felt God's presence and a sense of peace when I was in church. And then within a couple weeks, I found myself having another really big bout of depression, and I called the same family member, and she just gently said to me, "Colleen, I cannot fix it. There's only one person who can, and you need to call out to Jesus and ask him to fix it for you." She was right. As the words came out of her mouth, I knew she was right. I hung up the phone. I was on my floor crying, and I cried out to him. And I said, "God, I'm done. I'm done doing things my way. I invite you to be Lord of my life." I cannot even begin to tell you the just overwhelming sense of peace that I had. And that was the first night I had such a great night of rest in a long time. I would even tell you it had been probably 2 years. I woke up the next morning just with joy and peace in my heart, and I can't even explain it to you. It was just such a relief to me. You know, our hurts and our pains are very real. They're very deep, and they need to be, and they're very specific. We remember all the details about them, and we sit and revisit them in our mind, and we need to come under the authority of Jesus Christ. We need to give them to the authority of Jesus Christ. 2 Corinthians 10:5 tells us to take every thought captive to the obedience of Jesus, and let him speak his truth to you about it, and let him minister to you. And he's the only one who knows our deep heart hurts, and he's the only one who can fix it, okay? No one else has the power. The problem today, and it's a big problem in the church today, is that we use the term mental health, and we label things that are really sins with medical conditions, okay? So we need to be very careful about that. We need to be very intentional about calling sin, sin. And that's the only way people are really going to be helped. If they fall under the authority of Jesus Christ, confess, "Hey, God, I'm having a pity party. I'm allowing all my circumstances and hurts to overwhelm me, and not giving them over to your authority." And I've talked to many doctors, and they said that spiritual health and mental health most of the time are hand in hand. If you're walking spiritually right with God and Jesus, you are going to have, your thoughts are going to be under the control of him, and you're going to walk in his ways, and you're going to know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Thanks for listening.